The Android or iOS phone.
We're good?
Ice in this.
We're recording.
That was a lot of fun. Yes.
Coming back, I'm getting ice.
Billy's kind of a pansy. He's going to have ice in his whatever the hell fruity drink he's drinking here.
It's a rum and coke.
It's a rum and coke. Oh, a manly drink. All right.
Well, it's about as manly as I get.
Yeah, that's it.
Actually, I remember that one time I handed you a flask of Freaknik that you drank from.
That is true. I don't even remember what that was.
That was Everclear.
Oh,
or
wow.
something equivalent.
Right.
I remember showing up to Outerz0ne a few years ago, and I had a bottle of Schmidt-Sohn White Riesling. It's a German Riesling. And it would pop the top on, and I'd take a sip. Billy goes, "Oh, hey, that's a cool bottle. Can I have some?" And he takes a sip, and I never saw the bottle the rest of the night. I saw Billy, though, because Billy was hammered.
Billy didn't have pants.
Wait,
No,
Billy? This Billy?
No,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
doesn't sound
yeah.
like me.
Sloshed, naked, toe up. So,
Drinking girly drinks?
well, yeah.
Drunk? No.
That's it for strawberry daiquiris.
Strawberry daiquiri.
With whipped cream on top.
Strawberry daiquiri right now.
I'm 42 years old, yeah. The reference is made, I've been running conferences longer than most people have been going, which makes me sad in a lot of ways, so you guys got to catch up. So, yeah, there you go. How many hotels must a man burn down? That's it. So,
Thank you.
Well, you just wait.
I'm good.
Okay.
we had been talking. I think Billy's come up to the house a couple times and stayed the weekend to get away from the trappings of and problems of having to run a huge company now that it's taken
And we got
off.
3 people now.
You got 3 people now, yeah. Billy owns Zoomph. Zoomph does Zoomph.
We build software to make websites go faster.
There we go. So Billy has had an interesting and checkered past. I first met Billy at Outerz0ne, which oddly enough is where this thing got started. Billy was supposed to do a talk about Blackboard, which was a system on college campuses that also did access control, allowed you to pay for your laundry and things like that. And our young Billy reverse engineered the communications for it. And being the good guy that he is, he contacted the company and said, "Hi, I'm in college, and I just figured out everything about the system you have deployed all over the United States and all these universities, and you really ought to fix the security," which they told him, "Yeah, kid, whatever." And I think you did that for 2 or 3 years.
It was only about a year and a half.
A year and a half?
I kept talking about it at conferences.
Yeah, he happened to keep carrying that around until he got to Outerz0ne, and he said, "Okay, you really need to fix this problem. If you don't, I will release to the world a terminal emulator that emulates everything your system does." And apparently that got their attention because it's the first time I've seen a FedEx delivery of a cease and desist on a Saturday. So young Billy caused Outerz0ne to grind to a halt. We all met in a separate area where Rocket, Rand Smith, actually explained to everybody what took place and that they were not allowed to do the talk because of the cease and desist. And everyone kind of got pissed off about that. So we sent his presentation around the world. It ended up on CNN. Everyone had a copy of it. And for something that would have originally only been around a couple hundred people, then was worldwide. So I think you had to have a little, pay a retainer, I think is what they call that. Yeah.
No, the best part is that the guy talking right before Virgil and I got on stage is this guy, Pete Welburn, who's in town. If you need a lawyer, talk to Pete. So Pete was the outside counsel for Earthlink. And his office is right across from the Earthlink offices. So he's getting off the stage as I'm about to get on stage, and he did like the greatest thing ever. He's like, "Oh, hi, my name is Pete. I'm a lawyer. It appears you have been served." It was like Clippy, you know? And like a word doc. "It appears you're writing a letter." It was like, "It appears you've been served with a cease and desist order. Would you like some help?" And it was like, yes, I would, because I don't understand what this document means.
I know that I'm in trouble.
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm screwed, but so Billy has come up to the house to hang out, and we talk shop and everything. And one of the things that we came up with was the Inside the Hacker Studio. Is anyone old enough? Dear God, I can't believe I'm asking this. Who knows who James Lipton is inside the Actors Studio? Jeremy, put your fucking hand down.
Already see something wrong with this? He needs a stack of index cards.
Yes.
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Oh, yes.
He's got this.
I need a suit, some glasses. I got the hair, so I'm
Yeah, there you go. So, so there's a show. inside the actor's studio with James Lipton, where he interviews all these different actors, and it's an interesting format because he doesn't ask them what their motivation was in a certain movie specifically. He asks them some really wild, off-the-wall, kind of crazy stuff, not something you would normally expect. So we thought it would be interesting to see Billy sit down with a few different people and interview them, and IronGeek was the first person who came to mind. So we thought we'd give this a shot and see how it goes. If everyone seems to enjoy it, we're probably going to end up doing a lot more people. So Scott, you can tell your story next time about being...
Rocket first, and when he turned you down, then we went to IronGeek.
Yeah. And if anyone knows where Rocket is, I would really like to buy that guy a beer because, yeah, what can I say? He's in Arizona?
Yeah.
Someone track him down and find him for me. I'll go fly out and see him.
It's on the Skype there.
Huh? Skype him. Get him on the phone. So.
When I turn this on, it does feedback. So I can just.
Do you want this one?
Yeah, that would work. Is that one on?
That
Yeah.
one's also on.
So-
I don't know how close we have to be, though.
Guys, have fun.
All right, cool. So this is either going to go incredibly well or incredly bad. So
Go well, Billy.
Depends on how far
that depends on how much of this we consume.
Thank you, Miss Skydog.
Can I take score?
Take score, yes, yes. So Adrian, thank you.
And the
for-
audience is the loser.
Yes, the audience. Yes, everybody loses. So kind of the reason I wanted to do this is that sometime the most fun I have at HackerCons is not so much watching technical talks, though. I mean, yeah, you can see something that's kind of interesting. I've always kind of been one of those people, especially when I was working at a company, we'd hire people. I never cared what was on their resume. Like, I wanted to know the person. I wanted to know what motivated them. I wanted to know their stories. I wanted to know how they got to be where they were. Not, do you know C#? Do you know XML? Do you know this? Do you know that? Because competent people can pick that shit up like this. So I was more interested in the people. And then when it comes to hackers, I'm really kind of more interested, not necessarily in, oh, I worked on this cool topic and I like mag stripes and here's what I've done with mag stripes. It was more of like, how did you get there? What interests you about them? What do you feel about this or that? So that's kind of why I wanted to do this. And I've known Adrian now for several years. I've seen him talk a lot. And Adrian is one of those people I think the hacker community needs more of. You know, he's pretty selfless. He just wants to get up there and talk and kind of educate people. And you know, I think we need a lot more of those folks in the community. So thank you for being my victim, Adrian.
Okay.
Yeah, let me just start out.
Victimize away.
Victimize away. We kind of talked a little bit beforehand, and you said some interesting stuff. And so I was wondering if you could just kind of summarize, like, what was your first computer, and how did you get it?
First one I actually owned, I had a great-grandfather pass away, and a great-uncle, and my mother inherited some money, so she moved to the house, she bought some new things, and one of the things we got was a Tandy 1000 EX. So that was my first PC.
Did you buy it at Radio Shack?
Yes, that was yeah, several steps up from like a Trash 80, but yeah, it was bought from Radio Shack, and everything was proprietary, and you had to keep buying stuff from Radio Shack. And you know, we still ran MS-DOS, played around with that a lot, and had a buddy that lived 2 doors down who was big into the Commodore scene and also the Amiga scene. He ran a bulletin board system called Madhouse.
Okay.
So I learned a little bit about those systems, but I didn't really get into computers big time until I got into electronics school.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this earlier. So when you were growing up, you really liked horror movies and special effects and kind of wanted to figure out how did they do those things, and this kind of led ultimately to your interest in computers.
Yes, I was, big into horror effects, loved zombie films to some extent to that point, or zombie films much more now.
Hold on. What's your favorite zombie film?
That would be Dawn of the Dead, 1978.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Now, if you want to go outside of pure, strict genre, maybe Army of Darkness, but it's kind of more of a comedy, action, adventure thing than it is a horror film. So, and it's also a question more about those zombies because Sometimes they're possessed humans. But yeah, I got into special effects. I saw how people were making these things, stuff like how K&B put together props, how Tom Savini put together props, and I saw some things involved animatronics. So I figured, well, I'm thinking about going into special effects makeup. There's a school nearby that teaches electronics. That'd be a good fallback if nothing else, and I could use that knowledge.
So at this time, by special effects, what you're talking about are practical special effects.
This would have been like
makeup.
92 or so.
Okay, interesting. So you're looking at kind of practical special effects, and you're thinking, okay, animatronics, are kind of similar to that, like the Thing and stuff like that. So how did you kind of transition from electronics into computers?
Well, while I was taking electronics, I started taking some programming classes as well. And
what were the programming?
The very first ones, I think they were using Basic A.
Oh, to kind of like control the servos and things like that?
Yeah, actually, we weren't even using servos at that point, though. I think we did do some PIX programming later on. But no, that was just into a programming class in itself that doesn't necessarily have to do directly with microcontrollers.
Okay.
But I think that was taught in Basic A, and then I found I think it was the Turbo Basic compiler, and started doing some stuff in that. And I started getting bigger into programming than I was into electronics. So eventually I decided to go off, and I didn't quite finish the electronics degree, so I went back and finished it later, and went to start taking classes on computer science to learn about programming and so forth.
So what was it about?
1 point.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank
1 point. So what was it kind of about computer science as opposed to almost like more like electrical engineering or the electrical components of it? What made you kind of switch into that?
I don't know. I guess it was creativity. You could make a computer do what you wanted to do. Like I kind of started trying to do things before I really knew how to do them right. Like the first programming language they really taught us was BASIC, and BASIC can allow you to write some really shitty code. And for instance, the programming languages I was using, they had the capabilities of doing functional programming, which would be a far step further, but I didn't know about functions, but I knew about GoTo. So I had this tic-tac-toe program that had an AI in it written in nothing but GoTos. It's some pretty
So you'd set some variables and like do a GoTo, and then set some different variables and do a GoTo, like function calls?
Yes.
Like poor man's function calls?
Yes.
That's awesome.
And it was sad, but it did freaking function, and I guess I got a lot better at debugging because of that.
I see. And did your tic-tac-toe program help Joshua not do World War III? Out of curiosity.
It would always win as long as this way, it would never lose, and it would always win if you didn't make your first move the middle. So it did pretty well. I'm not sure how it would do against Joshua though.
So that's kind of cool. What was that, like a class project, like
no,
a game?
I was I think I had like a very part-time job, and I had spare time, and I think I had to wait for my brother to pick me up at the school, so I just sat in the computer lab programming.
Okay, see, this is the cool part. This is what I like, because it's the difference between I had a class and I had to do an assignment, and it's I was bored, and there's this really cool thing that can do anything in the world. I
got way too interested in some sci-fi aspects also, because I started programming animations using basic, and designing stuff. Like you ever seen well, like railgun isn't quite the right terminology for it, but it's like a multi-stage coil cannon proposed for shooting up the side of a mountain to put something into orbit.
Oh yeah, like the big guns that they have for launching like stuff into low Earth.
I was reading books on interstellar travel, and I saw one of these things. I was like, oh, that's cool. Let's see, I can do an animation on the computer with that, and that's the kind of thing I do in my spare time.
Really? That's pretty cool. So when did you know that you could make a career out of doing stuff with computers, or?
Well, yeah, there was enough people that seemed to be. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
I saw people getting jobs, so it seemed reasonable, and there's a lot of people going into it. I guess I didn't really know what exactly I was going to do career-wise. I mean, I meandered most of my life.
You don't really think about careers at that age,
Not
right?
really, no. I think I was like 17 when I got out of high school, so I was like, well, I got to take college of some kind. I'll go do this.
Okay. Did you go to college close to home?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So did you said that like when you were growing up, you had some friends that were like in the effects and doing that stuff. Did they end up going to school with you?
Effects were mostly just for me. I had a buddy though who was into computers, specifically Amigas and Commodores.
Oh, okay. So almost like Amigas were really big for like video editing with the video toaster.
Yeah, I remember first hearing about the video toaster from him, and I think maybe in the back of my mind, one of the reasons I gravitated out of special effects is, well, a year before I got out of high school, I suppose, Terminator 2 had come out, and then
with the liquid metal.
And then a couple years after that, Jurassic Park came out. At that point, you're going, there isn't much that they're not going to be able to do in a few years
with computers instead of
all computers.
Effects. Got it. So, but what made you? Then did you go into computers because you're like, I like effects. I kind of like the working on almost the movie side of things. It seems that it's moving away from practical effects and animatronics into computer-generated graphics. Let me do computer science so I can go into kind of computer graphics for movies.
Well, I think I just like programming. I like telling a computer what I want it to do and making it do it.
Okay.
And I also started to get into security things. I've always had this thing for like forbidden knowledge, stuff that I wasn't supposed to know. I grew up before Oklahoma City and way before 9/11. Back when I was a kid, if you lived in a place that was at least somewhat rural, you could get away with being a powder monkey. And by powder monkey, I don't mean cocaine.
Right.
I mean, depending on, as long as you're not living in the city, I mean, back then, it was considered boys to be boys if they're going out to the local drugstore finding various chemicals to mix together to blow shit up in their backyard.
So you were like downloading G files off of BBS's back in the day.
Actually, I didn't have
the Anarchist Cookbook.
Though I didn't have the G files because I didn't have a whole lot of internet access. I didn't have, well,
was there a modem
BBS
hooked up?
access?
Was there a modem hooked up to
not
that?
Even my 101000 EX. I started getting some more of that later on. The stuff I was reading was like the Improvised Munitions Handbook by who put it out? I guess some branch of the DoD.
So were you finding this at libraries? Like,
actually, my uncle is a black powder shooter as well as conventional firearms. He used to go to a lot of gun shows, and because I was real young, I couldn't buy guns. But Paladin Press put out a lot of different books on subjects like improvised munitions.
Right.
But also, I found out about things like fake IDs.
Okay.
What's it? New ID in America is one of the popular ones out there. Improvised weapons. I found a couple books on hacking or things related to hacking.
Right.
Though now in hindsight they weren't particularly good. I remember even trying to write a book to send it to Paladin Press.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I read it now, it would embarrass the living hell out of me.
Because a lot of people don't seem to remember this, that like hacking is, not that it's accepted as a mainstream thing now, but it used to be way more underground. It was kind of lumped in with people making their own drugs. It still is. You use the term hacking with some people. That's true.
And instantly think illegal. I know I've had a lawyer professor once that apparently freaked out about that, and I had a mentality from the same person who was a different person who was my barber. Now, for my barber, I'd expect it, but once you supposedly get a law degree and have a pseudo doctorate in something, you'd expect a little bit better. But it's unfortunately education does not equal education.
So no, that's interesting. So actually, let's move into that, because we may think hacking and security is kind of moving more mainstream because you actually can have a profession around it now.
Yes.
Right, which you wouldn't necessarily be able to do before. But outside, you talk to most people, and their perception of hacking is like what they see in Swordfish or on TV.
Yes, I got into hacking for the chicks.
Yeah, he got into hacking for the chicks. How do you explain to people like family or relatives, or you're at a cocktail party, right? And someone's like, we don't have 5 minutes to go. Fuck you, Evan.
Fuck it up, man.
So, anyway, how do you explain to regular people what you do?
I generally don't really try.
You just tell them I do computers? Like,
generally
what do you do?
speaking, for my grandmother, definitely. My mother, probably a little bit more. She's just happy I have a job that pays okay, I suppose. Okay. Grandmother, I think she still has a bit of the idea that everything on the internet is evil and there's all sorts of badness going on out there. And
right. You'll go blind.
If all you watch is the evening news, that's what you're going to...
So, like, when you're at a cocktail party or something, I don't want to glamorize your life. Like, you're at a party, you're at a social event that is not hacker related. You're meeting people, and someone's like, "Oh, Adrian, what do you do? What do you say?"
I like to touch computers in inappropriate ways.
Okay, assuming they continue to want to talk to you after you say that.
I basically say I do computer security work.
What do most people think that means?
I think at that point, most of them, unless they're actually in the field, are too bored to ask anything more.
Oh, okay, so it's like it kills the conversation.
It's like saying you're an accountant to a non-accountant. if someone came to me right now and said I'm an accountant,
That's okay.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
They don't ask you like about their antivirus program.
That was going to be my question.
Oh,
right?
I do get questions about removing malware, and I'm like, oh, please.
Because as soon as people hear you do computers, they're
My
like,
family I have to do it for. My neighbor who helps me out with stuff like, when I have yard projects and so forth, I have to help out. But generally I try to avoid that. And if I have to do it, I'm like, you back up everything off your drive. I will nuke and rebuild it because it isn't worth the time to try to figure out how to remove this one particular bit of malware.
Right. Or do they you tell them that, they're like, oh, I have this problem with Microsoft Word or and they start explaining it to you as if you can troubleshoot it.
I used to have this buddy, well actually it was a little more weird, that a buddy of mine knew I knew about computers, so he'd ask me questions about Adobe Photoshop. It's okay. It's a computer-related thing, but it's very specific. It's the comp sci degree does not,
doesn't really. I missed that shop on Photoshop, I guess, in between algorithms.
I know how to pirate it. That's about what
Interesting.
That's the extent of a lot of people's knowledge in the field.
So this is kind of related, and you brought it up. So a lot of people naturally assume computer hacking, and they immediately assume, surprise, surprise, at a conference that has money laundering presentations, NOAA.
Well,
and no wonder sometimes people would say, wait a minute, you're into computer security. Are you a hacker? Aren't all those people bad? How do you kind of deal with a negative view?
I just generally don't even bother to deal with it whatsoever.
Okay.
Some people freak out about forbidden knowledge, and some people freak out about something else having some kind of potential power that they don't understand. I think people freak out about guns because they're afraid of some object that someone else has, and it's some kind of power that they don't grasp or understand or somehow fearful of. I think people feel that way about knowledge, and I've always liked the idea of knowing things that aren't supposed to be known about.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, I used to put a quote at the end of some of my PowerPoint slides back when I started doing this. It said, I'm a hacker and you are afraid, and that makes you more dangerous than I ever could be.
Yeah, recently I've actually been accused of threatening behavior because I've used words with people. And then someone else said, because people like, oh, because of the way I look?
Wait, hold on, so go back. So
I've been accused of threatening behavior because of using words.
Obviously, this is a very threatening and imposing person, right?
I guess I'm a fairly large guy, I guess. That's what they use. And one cop talked to me about that and said, well, because of your size or something. I'm like, oh, because of the way I look. Unfortunately, I can't play the race card. I can't pull because of how I look, how people judge me. But some people get scared real easily of absolutely nothing. And I think that's one person who did wrong by me, and so I tried to counter things, and they basically seem to have taken their presence off the internet as far as I can tell. It's not like I would,
So actually, I'm kind of glad you went down this. So something that's always not troubled me, because that makes it sound like I'm concerned about it. One thing that's always puzzled me is the IronGeek name and the logo. You've got this buff bird.
Lifting dumbbells in the gym and supporting them at work.
Exactly. So first of all, you're into weightlifting?
I still weightlift. I just don't put the concentration in it that some people do, because I like food too much. I like the wrong kinds of food. Actual bodybuilders, they do eat a buttload of calories. Unfortunately, chicken breast and tuna fish, that much I can't handle. I wish people would embrace the biker physique. I could pull that off. Weightlifting and eat what the hell you want. But yeah, I'm into weightlifting. I was even a little bit more into it back then. So originally the website was going to be weightlifting and computer stuff. So IronGeek.
Whoa, hold on. What made you? Just like my brain just kind of froze a little bit. Hold on.
That sounds like the Venn diagram from ShmooCon. Skiing and computers.
Yeah, it's like like those things don't overlap. So what was it? You were just trying to create a website to promote the two things you were interested in?
Mostly.
Okay.
And also I got into weightlifting partly because, I wanted to look a little bit better,
Okay. All right. So
just like hacking, I wanted to pick up chicks with it.
Okay. Yes, obviously.
Literally, because I can, do that now.
How's that working out for you?
Picking up physically? Oh, that I have no problem with. Getting them to actually want me to pick them up is an entirely different issue. But yeah, that's the reason I did it, and also it's awfully handy when I go to these conferences. If you see all the crap I carry with me, I don't have to make multiple trips to the car. I can just load myself up and go. I used to be handy when I had to transport new computers across the campus at the old paper mill.
Right, because you worked at a university.
Yes.
Nice. So this is odd, did your interest in weightlifting develop simultaneously with your interest in computers? Like how?
No, I'd have to say that the computers came first. I mean, every teenage boy starts doing the little weightlifting just under the assumption that will look like Outerz0ne with no effort whatsoever.
Okay.
But I didn't really get serious into that till much later.
Okay. Interesting. So you started IronGeek.com, and you're like, I'm going to talk about computer hacking and weightlifting.
Yes. Well, actually, it's going to be generally computers.
Okay.
But yeah, and it originally started as actually a sub-web page on my university site. Then I bought this thing called a Outerz0ne. It's a little Linux box. It had a strong ARM processor.
That one.
Yeah. No, actually, I didn't have the clamshell one. I had the one before the clamshell. It had a little pull-out keyboard.
That's right. He's old school. You posers come later with your clamshell.
But, I mean,
HPLX 200, right?
No, I had the one that had.
I'm trying to remember the number on it. I want to say it was like a 5,500, but I don't remember the exact.
5500. That's the right one.
But I started running tutorials like, okay, it's running a version of Linux, it's ARM. You can actually grab Debian ARM packages, and if you force them, you can get those on there. So you can I had tutorials on getting like EtherCap and Nmap and all this crap on this little handheld hacking device. And this is when it was much more novel, because now you can run a lot of stuff on your
like
Android
phone.
Yeah, your Android phone or your iPhone in some cases. But back then it was kind of new, so I started writing about that and putting it on my website. And then I started getting more and more traffic. It was like, maybe I should buy my own domain. And so I moved everything off and then posted other security stuff. So slightly before the Outerz0ne, I actually saw a tool called Cam Studio and saw how you can make screencasts. So I was like, wow, there's all these little security tools out there that are nifty to play with, but they have a bit of a learning curve to them.
Yeah.
So I started
They're
doing
like,
videos.
here's a man file, have fun.
And so I started doing videos on those and posting them. So those two things were the start of IronGeek.com, and then it started building from there.
So were you actually hosting the videos that you put up?
I was for a while. Anymore.
Because this was like pre-YouTube, right? Like
Yes.
bandwidth and hosting images
And that was
not easy.
that was a problematic. Yes,
Okay.
last I checked, when I was still a big issue, it was like pushing 10 gigs a day.
Okay. Wow.
And now it would be a lot more if I had to host it myself. But now everything's on YouTube and archive.org. I put the ads on the YouTube ones. It helps supplement my income.
Sure.
But if anybody doesn't want to see ads, they can just grab it all from archive.org.
Interesting. So when
Most of it.
When did you
All the
actually
cons.
start IronGeek.com? What year do you remember?
Oh, that would have been early 2004.
Okay. So we kind of jumped pretty far into it. Walk me through, you're out of school or you're going to college, you're deciding that practical effects and electronics probably isn't the way to go, you're interested in programming, you're kind of playing around with it. How do you go from there to making tutorials about hacking tools?
Well, I always had an interest in forbidden knowledge, and I started messing around with school systems, and we used to use Novell. As I read Novell manuals, like, ooh, you can do this, this, and this, and this. Oh, let's issue those commands. Hey, they didn't lock down shit. or you bring up a list of users on. Ooh, this is some kind of HP. Oh, this is like a printer monitor account. Can I log into it? Oh, it's like an admin on this on the Novell bindery. I'm trying to call it the right terminology now. It's been years since I worked with Novell, but in the Novell bindery, it would have been an admin level account.
Right.
It's like they meant to station lock it, but they didn't. And you'd see the Novell logins, and it was all I can't say curses based, but it was all text.
Right.
And it was easy to emulate a login screen for Novell by writing a simple little basic program. So
you like backdoor the login program to put up your own.
I'm not saying where I did this, but yeah, something like that. But essentially, yeah, it basically would prompt up the same prompts, and then ask you to log in and say, "Oop, bad password." You entered the right password, but it would prompt you bad password. Then it would start the actual login.
So you basically put in basic basic, no less. You put
Technically, probably turbo basic. But
Turbo
still.
basic.
It's
You put
compiled.
a fake login in front of whatever Novell system was running to capture passwords.
Yes, I
And
didn't
then-
do anything bad with them, but I was just kind of curious what could be done.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So the typical, you're at college, you have all this amazing hardware and networking, and you're exposed to all sorts of software you haven't seen, and
there ain't shit logged down.
and there isn't shit logged out. So you just kind of start poking and playing.
Yeah, pretty much.
What was the thing that you found during those formative years that like shocked you the most? Where you're like, surely they can't be this stupid. Oh my God, they were.
A whole bunch of shit on default. I mean,
Okay.
you scan a network. I don't do exploit development. I need to get, you were talking about understanding memory structures and so forth earlier. I need to get a better grasp of that because I'd like to understand things better. But the truth of the matter is, there's so much low-hanging fruit out there.
Yeah.
You can make a career out of doing nothing but vulnerability scans for ancient unpatched crap and shares that shit out to everyone and blank or default passwords.
Yeah, you know, we're seeing that a lot today, right, with SCADA systems. This whole like, oh, well, this system was never intended to be connected to the internet.
And as long as they keep it not connected to the internet, that might be okay.
But it's ancient, you know, NT4, Windows 2000 boxes. They're not patched, default
Scan it and it
password.
buffs and dies.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
When I was doing research on printers, I found that there was a lot of printers who were somewhat sensitive.
So you've talked about printers a couple times. Like, were those just low-hanging fruit on the network?
Well, I saw printers out there. I saw no one had real tutorials out there, so I was like, well, I'm gonna start fucking around with printers. And one of the things I found out about fucking around with printers was way back in the day, Nmap. I want to say this might have been back in 2005, 2004. When it would send a probe, it would just send the probe to where port it was to try to figure out what it was, and it wouldn't say.
Is this part of the port scan or the OS detection?
Actually, this would be part of the, I think, the service detection.
Okay.
But it hit port 9100, and on the average HP printer, it would print out an entire ream of paper because every single thing you send to port 9100 is going to come out the printer.
Wait, so it's just like raw, you send a packet, and whatever's in that packet, it gets printed?
Pretty much.
Whoa,
As printable text. And so I got it to Fyodor about that. You know, this might be a slightly problem. So it was added to one of those, I can't remember his terminology for it, but ports to be careful with. So by default, Nmap won't now do probes on 9100.
Really? Interesting, okay.
It'll say it's open, but it won't send stuff because otherwise,
It's potentially
all around
destructive.
campus, and this is where I was doing legitimate scans, I'd be wasting reams of paper around campus whenever I did the scan of Nmap.
So you're just scanning the campus network and like printers around campus just
Freak out, yeah. and
dumping out reams of paper. Were you actually, I guess they were just printing like one character of gibberish
Or a
on
couple
each page.
characters. You know, it'd be something like the basically equivalent of grabbing a header.
Did you ever thought to
Pentagrams.
like send messages from God to people using
Yes,
this?
have done that. Got in trouble with that once too. Don't try to explain things to HR because whoever has the power actually is the one that gets to explain things and they won't listen to you.
Wait. You had to go into the HR office and they're like, there was a letter from God and we've heard rumors that it
more
came
than that.
from
Actually,
you.
I was going to Nauticon to give a talk and I'd posted this this website where you could go and you could have a chat on a print server and you could watch a webcam and you could see what was appearing on the screen because you could set the
you
screen.
like pointed a webcam at the printer.
Yeah, and the screen usually you'd say something like insert coin or whatever. Apparently someone was throwing racial slurs up there that showed up in the video and all of a sudden they got freaked out and I got compared with bad judgment and compared negatively to two people who made way more money than I am. Sorry, way more money than I am. Way more money than I did.
Yeah.
And couldn't do the things I did and just the general abusive behavior for someone that could have been, Adrian, don't do that crap.
Right.
I kind of lost faith in, definitely lost faith in HR people and came to the conclusion that don't expect actual due process or people to pay attention to you.
So as somebody who's been sued, I think this is an interesting point, right? Because pretty much everybody hits this where you kind of like lose your innocence and you're like, hey.
I can admit doing something wrong, but the level that people went after me,
right.
It's just like, what? Actually, I think later on it came out that part of it may have been that I was running a forum system that was talking about things that the university was doing that wasn't particularly good or for students, and I think they used that as one of the excuses to take that down because one of the ways people found out about it was because of forum posts.
Got it. Okay. So everyone kind of goes through this process of where they're learning, they understand, holy shit, I can like telnet to port 25 and like send mail, or they go through this process.
Done that. Mails from Satan.
They're mails from Satan. I see. So prints from God and mails from Satan. You just covered the whole pantheon there. Nice. All right. Anything from purgatory?
I haven't done that one.
I guess unbaptized babies can't type, so probably doesn't work.
No.
That's limbo, not purgatory.
I guess you could.
I didn't really pay attention
Actually,
to Catholic
considering the number
school.
of printers that are out there raw on the internet, port 9100 open to the world, I'm surprised there's not more printer faxes out there. You know how I say printer spam, like you have fax
like the fax
spam.
Yeah, you'd think there would be more. So how, after that experience, did you kind of pull back
So
a little
the fax
bit?
stuff probably too, isn't it?
Yes. What is
So is the fax stuff too, isn't
The
it?
fax stuff is against the law. Fax spams are against
Yeah.
the law.
That-
And if you can determine who they come from, you can file a case.
Okay, but people still do those, don't they?
They do, but not nearly very
Okay.
many. I mean, it's a very small amount because they know they'll get in trouble because most of them are going to advertise.
And seriously, who the fuck says a fax anymore? The last time I said a fax literally was
There
a
are
decade
people
ago.
who still want them.
I still do it every day.
The Japanese, for some god unknown reason, we think of them as this high.
The Japanese have tentacle porn. Don't try to understand them.
but they still use fax.
And used panties in vending machines?
I've seen those. It's in Akihabara. It's a little freaky.
In Akihabara, Techno City, what are they using?
They have vending machines with used underwear in them.
They banned those 20 years ago.
Well,
Now, see, unused underwear I understand, because sometimes you're out and about and you're getting a little sweaty and you get chafed and you need a new pair, and it'd be convenient to be able to pick one up at a vending machine. But the used ones, that's a little nasty.
so if anything can take anything from this Adrian Pro underwear vending machine.
Yes, as long as they're clean underwear.
Yes, as long as they're clean underwear.
Personal ball wash.
So did you, after kind of like getting called into HR about some of this kind of controversial knowledge, did that make you pull back and not want to be so public about what you did?
It definitely did, and I kept things more quiet. And things that I thought that I was helping with, I didn't want to help as much.
Okay.
I didn't want to tell people about things as much, and I became very bitter. And then some other things happened later on. And when 10 years hit up, and I was vested in a retirement program, I was like, "See ya."
I see. Okay, so
But universities are addicted to be at, because you can be a lazy, worthless bastard and stay at university for a long freaking time.
yes, and Skydog works at Vanderbilt. Just saying.
We love you,
Throwing that out
Skydog.
there.
Yeah, the codes.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, the co-eds, that's... All right,
Well,
that's
they are-
nice scenery, but I live in southern Indiana. It's not as nice a scenery as you might think. It's probably better down here.
I don't think there's any probably about that.
There's no probably about that. Okay, so you started IronGeek. You kind of said, okay, well, I can't be so public at work with what I'm doing, but I can still be publishing online. I can still be writing blog posts. What made you? Well, what was the first hacker conference that you went to?
You were probably even there. It was, strange enough, Freaknik 2005.
Oh, I was there. Yes.
That was the one just before. Was that the one just before Skydog took over Freaknik for 2 years?
I think so. Yeah, he started in
Or maybe-
2006.
Okay.
So how
maybe
did you?
one off.
How did you? Granted, I'm interviewing you. I don't want this to be about me. I remember very distinctly when I found there were other hackers, and it was like, oh my God, there are other people that do this, right? I remember being in Barnes & Noble and seeing this issue of something called 2600. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And being like, oh my God, there's other people who do this.
I got contacted from someone from Louisville Underground Computer Society, because Louisville's right across the river from me.
Right.
Though, quite frankly, if you have a website called Louisville Underground Computer Society, how you underground? But they told me, about themselves, and then I think I may have counted Freaknik before, and I knew DOS Man from up in Bloomington, and saw about him going to Nauticon and so forth. So I was like, okay, well, this upcoming Freaknik's happening, and that's 3-hour drive south.
So they
I'll go
told
to
you
that.
about it.
Yeah, I don't remember who told me about it first. I don't know if I'd heard about it first someplace else. And I'd watched the videos online of what it was like, and I think saw Dolomite up there doing some kind of data hacker contest thing.
And Tom talking about the aliens that were coming.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know what all happened that year. But I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going this year. And I already knew some people like Droops and so forth from online who were going to show up. So like, yeah, done deal.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So what were your expectations walking into your first HackerCon, and what was the actual experience?
I don't know if I had much expectation because it was my very first one. Largely, my expectations were I got exactly what I expected, hang out with a bunch of other computer geeks.
Okay.
And I think that was the first year I met a whole lot of people. Surely I met Skydog sometime that year, though I'm not sure we really got to know each other until I started speaking at, I think, the first Freaknik that he put on. I remember meeting Jason Scott that year.
Yeah.
And Al Stroker.
Yeah, because Jason was talking about Wikipedia, right?
Yes. Well, good. I don't know what he was talking about that year, but Wikipedia was quite
Probably one of them, yeah.
And I found these people were very interesting, and so I, kept coming back. So I've been to every Freaknik since then.
So how did you? I guess it's kind of an easy transition because you were already about let's document things on IronGeek.com. Let's make videos about how tools are being used. Did you just basically say, let me extend that and give a conference presentation? How did you go from being an attendee to wanting to present?
Well, I thought I had something that I hadn't seen presented before. I was like, well, I like getting up in front of people and speaking. And
what was it? What were you?
This is actually I think my first conference talk of any kind like that was probably the Cybersecurity Summit in Indianapolis that IU put on, and it was on like basic password cracking and password exploits and odds and ends like that. Like, well, here's the reason why landman passwords hashes are so weak,
right.
And explain it. And that was like the very first show I put on. And then the DerbyCon one in 2006 was I think the first HackerCon I actually presented at, and then Freaknik, that very same year, I think I was presenting on a bots PE builder or whatnot. So it just kind of built from there, and then I started speaking more and more, and I started doing some classes for my local ISSA chapter, and wanted to record my own stuff, so I started messing around more and more with video equipment, and eventually I got enough video equipment and got enough knowledge to do it that I started doing videos for other conferences. And now a lot of my content isn't even my content, it's someone else talking.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting, as someone who has talked a lot and been on your site normally while drunk, how did you decide, like, I should film these people and ask the conferences whether I can film them and then publish it? Like
free content.
So literally you were just looking for more stuff to put on IronGeek.com.
Largely, I don't want to be hypocritical, and I don't know how much was altruistic and how much is purely profit motive of getting more people to come to my site. So it's hard for me to say, but I mean, the conferences seem like me coming out there, and I think I drive at least some publicity for the conference.
Sure.
And they get someone to do the video. I get more content. The speakers get the name out there. Because those various speakers, if I Google search the name, my website comes up first.
So there aren't a lot of HackerCons, kind of like in the Mid-Atlantic, Midwest region. I guess Rebel kind of is around there. How did you end up getting started with the DerbyCon guys?
There was I'm trying to think of exact scenario.
I mean, is that the first kind of Midwest conference? I have no idea that you were involved with.
Midwest, I guess DerbyCon would be considered Midwest. That was the first one I was going to. Okay. But that's like 5-hour drive north of me. Freaknik was like 3 hours south. So Louisville just seemed like a good central place, and during the 2009 Louisville InfoSec, which our local ISSA chapter puts on, I got to know Dave King a little bit. He pwned my box really bad. Wait, that didn't sound right at all. I also met Martin Boss and several other people like Elliot Cutright, and I was like, well, I want to put on a Metasploit class. I've been doing these classes, but I can't cover Metasploit by myself. There's just too much stuff, and I don't have enough experience. So I started asking these people to pitch in and help, and they're like, and Dave will pretty much show up any place if it's not too far to drive and teach. So, and him and Martin and I and Elliot and Ken all taught this class. I hope I'm not missing anybody. And while we're out there, Martin and Dave and I don't know who said it first, we got so many people to show up to this Metasploit class because no one was watching the sign-up sheet. Right. No one was watching the mail for the sign-up sheet, so we had like 70 people sign up. Now,
so you like overbooked it.
Yeah, we're doing it as a charity for Hackers for Charity.
Oh, Johnny Long's organization.
Well, we were using the materials also because they always Offensive Sec. Those folks put out Metasploit Unleashed.
Yeah.
The charity was like, well, if we're going to steal the material, we might as well make it for charity also.
Yes.
So that's what we did. But while there, we got so many people sign up for it, and we were like, it's actually strange enough. Because of the expansion, we had to move to a different venue, and ISSA spent more on the Brown Hotel for the venue than what Johnny actually made.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I mean, they paid for it, and I guess ISSA got some publicity out of it. But we've got so many people show up from that we were like, okay, we can put our own conference. And so we started thinking about names, and I explained to people, like, well, to Dave, like, well, DerbyCon, Louisville, related to Derby. Derby is the type of hat, black hat, white hat. We needed a name. That was that. So that kind of took off, and so Dave, Martin, and I put things together, and now it's a core group of people who get together and decide on speakers and so forth. So it's usually Dave, Martin, myself, Aaron. Oh crap! Don't you hate it when a name just totally disappears from
you're getting put on the spot. They're gonna, whoever else is on this organizational committee is gonna see this video, probably on IronGeek.com, and right now they're going, "What the fuck? Say my name, Adrian!" Yes, exactly. That's what they say.
You can edit it yourself later.
Yes, that's right. You could be like, "The name is," and then you can just add it in.
Oh, the name is
Nick. I love you, Nick.
So, all right. So, kind of a distraction from.
I don't know why Nick's name just totally disappeared from my head, but yeah, we're like the core people on the calls organizing it. And
how many years has it been going now?
This is going to be the third this upcoming.
When is the conference?
It's late September.
Okay, cool. So I literally could talk to you for like an hour about organizing conferences, and I'm sure Scott would love that too.
It normally does.
I would.
Talk over when it is on. I don't know which one it is.
How much? I'm totally going to run over.
Yeah, Billy normally can talk for hours.
That's right, like an hour and a half, and I will. And actually, the best part is I'm not even like with slides. I'm going to totally run over your time because
Nick, I'm going to blame the run that Miss Skydell gave me for me.
We started late. It's only
forgetting
8.
your name.
I got more time. All right, so you actually, I thought I'd be a little divisive instead of just doing history stuff.
Go for it. Let's be hateful.
So let's be hateful. You've mentioned, like ISSA a lot. What are your thoughts on kind of the massive amount of certificates that have kind of pushed into the security space where it's like, oh, you need a CISSP to do this. Oh, you need this.
I have a negative impression in general of HR types, but yet at the same time, I also recognize they have to have something to filter with so many people wanting certain jobs. And a cert is no worse than a college degree for proving you know something. Not saying that it actually proves anything, but to tell you the truth, I still think the best way is hiring from people you know. Unfortunately, that also gets to be a bit of a good old boy, good old girl system, and nepotism isn't the right word for that. But there's a bit of cronyism going on there.
Sure.
So it's a devil if you do, devil if you don't sort of situation. So I see the value of certs as at least a baseline, like, okay, he was able to pass this, so he must have this bit of knowledge, even if he can't practically apply it, he at least knows the words I'm saying, hopefully.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? So
English, do you speak it?
English, do you
CISSP, do you speak it?
Say what? Say what one more time? Do they speak English in what? Yeah. So
say la tu pelle mano one more time. Is that right? How do you say that? So what? Bella Le Pew? Bella Le Pew. Did you ever have to use that shit outside the CISSP test? Yeah. Thank you. Do you understand the Bella La Pew coming out of my mouth?
No, I'm not a CI. I have never had a cert, ever.
I don't have one yet, but I probably will shortly just for the hell of it. And some my coworkers are going to be doing that, so it's like...
Which one? CISSP?
Just, CISSP.
It feels just like a racket, right? It feels like...
Dude, universities feel like a racket to me. Yeah. So I'm okay with this. At least it's a much shorter amount of time to be in the racket.
I guess. Okay, so kind of along that line, we were talking a little bit earlier about, hey, messing around on a college network, and then HR talking to you, and then of course we were joking earlier about pirating Photoshop. There's kind of this trend in ethics with hacking, right? And I'm interested in your thoughts. We were talking earlier, and I think we could kind of have the conversation almost again. If
those who talk the most about ethics understand the least. It's been my personal experience.
No, good call. So,
but we're going to talk about some, so we'll see how little we know.
That's right. So if you find a security issue in a product, do you kind of feel responsible for reporting that issue?
I would feel responsible for reporting it, but I'd be careful who I would report it to, and I might look up the history of that particular company. If they're too crazy, I'm like... Okay, full disclosure, anonymously.
Right, yes.
If they seem like the kind of people that are, well, okay, that's a problem, oh shit, fuck, fix it. Then report it up the chain. So I guess it depends.
RF policy or whatever and report it.
So it really does depend, but I'm not usually in a position to find that kind of thing because most of the things I find are going to be known issues that people just didn't configure things right. And it's one thing to learn about, well, that's one of the things that I can say about the low-hanging fruit. individual exploits go away. They get patched and fixed.
Right.
Bad design decisions and bad configurations last forever.
I completely agree. I've always been much more interested in design flaws in technology.
There's always going to be
than
someone
bugs.
running some service as administrator account that doesn't need to be like. The other day I was like printing and like, ooh, print queue. Oh, the owner of that is something admin. That's not good. I don't know of a particular exploit that you could send in like, a PostScript file that would fuck up that, print spooling system or that particular print tracking system, but
that should not be admin.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you go about, you were working at a university. I'm sure you saw university networks are
I'm surprised they don't get more fucked over than they do. Maybe
they do and they just don't know it.
I find it shocking that I found out with college students, and quite frankly, their own sense of ethics isn't that high. So it's not the sense of ethics that's keeping them from doing it. But I'm just surprised there's not more students stealing free print jobs. It's like so pathetically easy. But I don't see them doing it. Maybe they're doing it, I'm not seeing it.
So you said you kind of retreated a little bit from being open and testing the things that you saw. So let's say you work at a company. Do you, this is along the ethics side, you're working in a company, let's say it's a university, because they tend to have a large number of networks that are of all different types. They're, controlled by different departments. Do you kind of view it as all right to be able to, audit or, not necessarily, I'm not saying run Nessus over everything, but, like Scotty Moulton over here, port scan it, do a little testing.
If there's like a drive open, like, oh, what's out here? Oh, this is the directory. Oh, what's that? Oh, Social Security numbers. Lovely.
So it's literally, you just tend to, it's so open, you just like, wow, what's this shared drive? Like you just kind of stumble on it. It's not even like you're looking for it.
From time to time. Like, someone's looking around for port 80 on machines and they find a printer that had someone's social security number on a timesheet.
I'm guessing that's not a...
That's not a real life story. No.
Of course not.
A friend of mine named Bob, who I don't personally have an address for, but I just talked to him on ILC. Bob found something
Bob found something like that.
Bob, you know Bob's last name, of course, don't you?
Yes.
Bob's last name is Swim.
Is it?
Yes.
Why?
Someone who is not me.
Oh, so someone who is not me.
My buddy Zach told me that one.
I like that. I like that. Cool. So, as somebody who's kind of risen up, who is naturally curious, just kind of played around, got burned once.
More than once, but okay,
well, more than
that's
once.
The one we'll tell about.
What do you kind of say to people who come up to you and they're like, I'm interested in computers, I'm interested in computer security. What do you say to them?
My pat answer to that is read a lot and play with technology.
Sure.
I don't have a better answer for that. They're like, teach me. I'm like, well, what particular subtopic do you want to teach? I can go up to Scott and say, well, besides saying I love your shit.
Wow. Can we quote you on that?
You haven't been...
Adrian, I love Scott Moulton shit.
They quote me about it every single con I've been to.
He's a forensics guy. They take good dumps. That's right. Apparently on Adrian's face.
Hey, and they have double Ds.
Hey, they like that in Japan. Don't knock it.
That's right. Saw that Naki Hopper too. It was in an alleyway though. I don't think it was kosher.
Teach me everything about forensics. That's a big freaking topic.
The double Dutch, the double Irish.
And since computer forensics, in a way, can be an aspect of computer security, you got even, there's so many subfields that you can go into. But my pat answer is, well, read a lot, play with technology, pull crap out of the garbage, tear it apart, put it together again, mess around with the things you find interesting.
I think that's a good answer because I've always really viewed hacking as... Hacking is not a thing, it's who you are, right? It's just being curious. It's taking shit apart. How does this work? Oh, what's that drive? Or, and you can't teach somebody to do that. So by telling them, hey, go research this or go read this, you're kind of giving them a task, and if they have that personality, they'll do that task. But if they're just like, if I'm a hacker, Angelina Jolie will show me her boobs after she shows me her 28 8-baud modem.
That's why I got into hacking after all. Yeah.
Exactly. Like it's almost like it's a pretty good
shit has
filter.
Never happened.
It's never happened.
Though I did once see Boris's breasts. That wasn't good.
Boris?
Boris.
No, I imagine it wasn't.
No.
I imagine anything with no, probably not. Interesting. Okay, cool. So is there anything you wish you could, like, if I had a time machine, I'm like, Adrian, like, Doc Brown and I just got back when this baby hits 88 miles per hour and all that. If you could go back in time 10 years, no, not even 10 years, 15 years, and tell your past self, so it's what is that? 1997, 98. You could go back to 1998 and tell yourself something not related to stocks or something that would allow you to be, yeah. But I know Apple looks like it's in the shitter right now, but the Steve Jobs character, I think he's got another one in him, right? Like, you can't say that. If you could say something to kind of like alter what you focused on with computers, would you? And what would it be?
Possibly say focus even more on computer security aspect, read more books, play with more of the technology, and get a real job in the real world sooner, because you'd probably be making a whole lot more money. While it might be more stressful, you might have enough money to retire by now.
So are you still in university?
No.
Or you're out. That's right.
I'm working on finishing my master's degree.
Oh, wow.
Machine learning. Teachers doing a good job of trying to teach, but I'm not necessarily picking it up. But it's been too long since I've had calculus, linear algebra, and a buttload of matrix mathematics.
Exactly. As soon as they start talking about, like, here we're going to simulate a neuron, and this is the neural network, and here's the matrix transform we're going to apply, you're just like, bust over.
Yeah, but yeah, they're doing a good job of it, but I think I need a different textbook than what we have. But actually, there's a book I saw from Outerz0ne called Machine Learning for Hackers that looks like it actually might be something. I like stuff that's actually applied, like, all right, we have a problem to solve. Here's some sample code that does something similar.
Right.
Hack this apart to make it do what you need it to do.
Interesting. So kind of along that line, I mean, you do a lot with publishing videos, publishing how-tos. Have you ever done any open source code or written things like that?
Well, anything I write, see, my coding techniques are pretty sloppy. Like,
you don't want anyone to see your bad code.
Hey, I use functions now, but a lot of shit still looks like go-tos. Go-to this function.
In the end, it's all just jumps.
I'm not part of any big project. The biggest project I've ever been a part of is I started it and someone else took it over. Was Motilla Day, and then
what was that?
Motilla was deliberately vulnerable PHP, which isn't hard. It doesn't take much programming skill to make deliberately vulnerable PHP apps.
Okay.
But I wanted to implement all the OWASP top 10.
Oh, like as a learning tool.
Yes.
Because Foundstone has like their Hack Me Bank and Hack Me This.
But I wanted something super intro, and it showed exactly the OWASP top 10.
And luckily in PHP you can totally do that.
And that was so easy. And then I handed it off, and Jeremy Druin's been taking over and done a wonderful job on it. Other stuff, I open source pretty much everything I write. It just gets thrown up down as a script, and like I don't even put the license on it. I just throw it out there and saying, if I say any kind of license, I'm like, include me in the credits if you use the code.
So it's not even like open source. It's literally public domain. Here's the code.
Pretty much.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't usually slap a license on it.
So are you just putting this on your site or using like GitHub? Or
I usually just put it on my site. I need to look more into source code repositories and actual versioning and all that, but since it's usually just me working on it.
Yeah, what's the point? Yeah, it's just you. Interesting. Okay, cool.
And it's usually some simple script to do some silly thing like, okay, I need to collect the configs on all these Cisco devices, so I'll mix in the SSHs into every one of them, does a show run, and pulls it down and saves it.
All right, so if you could work at Microsoft for a day and any decisions you made were binding after you left, what would you do?
Take the whole thing down.
How old are Bill Gates' daughters?
Wow.
No, sorry, no, never mind.
Wow, okay.
Bill Gates' daughters.
Microsoft?
Liquidate them.
Actually, Microsoft.
What was that Michael Dell said about Apple? Like, shut it down and give the money back to the shareholders? Yeah, you can do that.
Actually, Microsoft's been doing a hell of a lot better over the last few years than what they used to. So I'm not sure what my instant advice would be, other than, what the fuck is up with Windows 8's design?
Oh my God, it's so serious. This is a true story. This is a true story. My wife actually got a Windows laptop for Christmas, and she's using it, and she's just cursing. She's like, this is horrible. I can't get to the control panel. And she had never used a Mac. I had a Mac. She's like, fuck this, we're going to the Mac store. And like sent it back and went to a Mac because Windows 8 sucked so bad.
I couldn't get to the control panel either. I was like, what the fuck is...
I'm like, all right.
You gotta like get into the desktop and then go to the bottom right, and then this thing slides out.
Why do you need a tablet interface on a PC with a mouse and a keyboard?
Exactly.
Because they're going to start building motion cameras into the
Make it go away when you don't
into the monitors.
So you would basically go there and smack the person who thought to put both Metro and Legacy in a single package.
And then it doesn't even integrate well when you have to switch back to the other one. It's like, and then there's something that acts like the start bar, but doesn't say start, but it's similar. Why?
So it seems like Metro would have been great on like just the tablet. Like I would have been like if there was like a iPad-like device from Microsoft that didn't have like a beefy x86 processor inside of it, and fucking who puts fans in a tablet?
There is. Like,
There's the RT.
Wait. There's a tablet with fans?
Yes, the Windows Surface Pro has fucking fans that kick on because it's an x86 processor. It's not ARM.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a tablet.
This is no longer an interview. This is Billy drunkenly ranting about Microsoft. So we'll stop about that. But no, it seems like Metro would be a lot better on a tablet, and I would be happy with that. You know?
That looked okay, and I've heard actually okay things about the Windows phones.
Yeah.
But for a PC interface, I got on it. And it's like there was actually a pen test class we did at DerbyCon, and someone who worked at Microsoft came up, and they were forced to use Windows 8.
Oh, that poor bastard.
She may have been illegitimate. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not asking that many questions. But I had to work with this interface. I'm like, she said, so, oh yeah, I'm on Windows 8. I'm like, why? And then I found out that the Microsoft forced them to use it.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
It's like all things.
They gotta drink the Kool-Aid.
I
eat the dog food. I think it's the better term.
worked with Microsoft people before.
Though, considering Jim Jones, I guess Kool-Aid. Though technically, my understanding, it wasn't
Poor
Kool-Aid. It was Flavorite.
Flavor.
I believe it was Flavorite. I need to look it up later on.
So this, I literally could keep going for like hours. I don't know. Are you guys enjoying this? So what do you think of the first Inside the Hacker Studio? Hold on, is there a question you all wish I could ask? Audience questions. Yeah, let's do this.
Hey, in the movie Hackers,
No.
Hey, I've watched it a few times. You can try.
Yeah.
You said you've been sued at one point. You got slapped on the wrist from your school.
Yeah.
Have either of y'all, like in your earlier younger years, had anything but worse than that? Like been transferred or had to transfer to a different school?
Something that's below the age of 18, so it's legally sealed.
Yeah.
But it has nothing to do with computers.
I'm saying technology-wise.
Remember the pyrotechnic?
Yeah. I had a similar incident involving pyrotechnics, which resulted in Billy's parents threatening to ship him to military school.
Pyromania.
So
who does that song?
someone
Pyromania.
awesome, that's who.
Def Leppard, thank you.
That's right. Off like Hysteria or one of their amazing albums.
Catching everybody's social security check.
That's right.
You were like throwing things and blowing shit up.
That's right. All right, who has another question? Anything at all? Yeah.
Oh, hell.
You sued for?
This isn't about me, this is about Adrian.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
Adrian, what was Billy sued for?
I'm guessing something to do with Blackboard, but I honestly don't know.
Cease and desist.
Do you make any money off of IronGeek?
Yeah, some.
Does it cover hosting?
More than covers hosting.
Oh, okay.
How did you get them from blacklisting you? Because every time I try to do it, they're like, you have too much malware on your website.
Oh,
Actually,
wait, Google was blacklisting IronGeek.com?
Was blacklisting my website because I just had like
I do get some complaints about one particular thing.
grab your mic so
I had something called Splice, and since Splice is used for putting two EXEs together, it is used for malware. And they complained about it, but then I explained it, and
Who was they?
went
Google
away.
Wait, who is they? Google complained?
Well, actually, Google said that I was hosting malware, and I said what it was, and last I checked, it was okay with it, but.
Okay.
like I had no IP actually. They gave me like a $25 credit, noip.com, the free DNS.
Yeah.
Because something on my website rubbed them the wrong way. And like, oh, you can't be associated with it. But we'll let you keep your .com. You just can't have the no IP, whatever.
Some people get persnickety. I have very little. Most of my tools are scanning type tools. Very little that can be used directly as a Trojan. So in general, most of it's not going to show up.
But when you first did it, it triggered, and you had to go back.
The Splice thing did trigger, and I think still like thumb screw triggers, which is a tool I have that sits there and in the background. Anytime someone plugs a thumb drive into the machine, it copies all the files off. I think that one might be the one that triggered it, not Splice. I don't quite recall. I've had the problem, but most of my tools are.
You were already on the Google's AdSense, and then.
Yes, Google's AdSense. You just have to keep things fairly lily white as far as being a pen tester and not anything black hat. But it takes a lot to prove that, and I think it takes a certain amount of traffic maybe to prove that.
So actually, I wanted to kind of go back. I'm sorry, Ducky, did you have one?
Sure. No, it's not a good one, really.
Do it!
I want your opinion on what you think of hacktivists.
Oh, he even hate the term. What do you mean? How do you define hacktivists? Because that's another thing is,
like the anonymous group.
Anonymous is not a group. Anonymous is a meme.
I'm sorry.
All these people, and actually, I know you understand this, but the media, they think, oh, this is an actual organization. Right. No, it's a bunch of motherfuckers that have a term they like to use together. Some of them hate this particular thing. Some of them hate this particular thing. I mean, but there's no. It's like herding cats.
What do you think of hacktivists in general?
It depends on what you're doing. If you're talking about hacktivists like Johnny Long's
no, hold on. Let's take it back. What do you think of the concept of using hacking techniques to promote a particular agenda, be it political, environmental, what have you?
For the good.
Right, like, I'm not hacking this computer. I'm not SQL injecting you because I want to steal your credit cards. I'm SQL injecting you because I want to put a message up about how this person is a war criminal or something.
If you're exploiting someone for those purposes, I probably have a problem with that. If you're using hacking techniques as in programming or understanding how systems work or taking total garbage and making something useful out of it, then I'm cool with it. The problem is the term hacking means so many different things to different people. Jason Scott has an analogy that he uses about bikers. That biker to one biker means something totally different than to a different biker. And hacker means different things to different hackers. So it depends on what you mean. Like, to me, Johnny Long's Hackers for Charity, that's a hacktivist group. They're activists who are hackers. But also people who would label themselves anonymous, and not all groups of anonymous I necessarily have a problem with. Like the people who are screwing with Scientology, more power to you. But those won't not say all the same people, because anonymous isn't one single group.
I guess I was referring to the media definition.
The media definition
you can't
is so
really
screwed,
ask.
though.
So, but no, this actually opens an interesting line of questions.
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Was it a question of hacktivism or was it a question of ethics? Because to me, for instance, I don't give a shit. You can go and hack for all the right reasons or all the wrong reasons, and it's still hacking. The bottom line is there's an ethical line, though, and I'm not saying don't do it, or I don't know people who would do it, but I'm going to say if you cross that ethical line, if you break in and manipulate somebody else's shit because you found the problem, whatever your agenda is, you still crossed that ethical line. Whether or not you care about that ethical line is a whole other question.
Right.
But that ethical line has been crossed.
My favorite ethical, well, I'm trying to think how to put it. My favorite, I'm trying to think of the best way. It's not exactly a theory. It's not exactly ethical framework. It's not
philosophy.
Well, my favorite ethical philosophy probably comes from Immanuel Kant. Okay. And have you heard of the categorical imperative? Yeah. And there's different versions of what people interpret the categorical imperative as being. One of it is, do it if it's only logically consistent that everybody do it. Right. Another one is, do it if you can wish it to be a universal that everybody does it. And there's subtle differences that. But my thing is, it's a little bit like, do unto others you'd have them do unto me, but that was true. If that truly worked, I'd be going up to every beautiful woman and sitting on her lap and wiggling. So that does not work out. But
that's why I took your pants off. I want you to do it to me.
Yeah. But do things as you'd wish them to be made a universal. Like, is it okay to kill this person? Well, if everybody killed someone else, that would break down. Now that's an extreme case, but sometimes extreme case describe it.
Oh, we got to Hitler already. Awesome.
I would.
Hooray!
Hey, yeah.
Drop the mic, I'm out.
But, can you wish this to be a universal? Would you want everybody to do this? Would you want someone hacking your particular political fan base?
And I want to call you on this because you said something interesting earlier. You're like, oh, anonymous, no, some of those guys. Except for the guys hacking on Scientology, then that's okay.
Well, no, see, I'm not talking about hacking them, but if they're standing outside and causing a ruckus and causing people to go look at like Operation Clanbake,
oh, sure,
I'm cool with that.
So what you're saying is you don't think it's ever...
I don't think it's ever ethical to DDoS somebody to shut them up, because that is censorship. And if you're against censorship, it doesn't make sense to DDoS anybody.
So what you're saying is not using techniques of infiltrating computers or disrupting computers against people. It's not justified to do that against someone just because you disagree with them for whatever reason.
There are some subtle lines. For instance, if you're in an oppressive country, if you're using Tor to get the hell out, that could very well be seen as a type of hacking, and you know what? Good for you.
But that's almost That's almost in the sense that I believe my internet traffic should not be monitored by a third party and should not be judged by a third party. And so to enforce that belief, I'm going to use Tor. I think it's almost, you're using the technology to enforce a belief. And I almost think that it's like, well, if you're in a country where that belief is true, use Tor or don't use Tor, but you're kind of exercising a right, for lack of a better term. Because it's not right, I guess right is...
Well, the only right that you... I would say I believe in rights. As a metaphysical thing, I believe in rights, but unfortunately, practical personal experiences led me to think that the only rights that truly exist are those that you can enforce with personal power.
All right, we've already gotten to politics, Hitler, and personal rights pretty fast here. I would want to keep drinking, but I think...
And underwear and vending...
And underwear and vending machines, and how convenient and helpful that can be. Yes, no, we already got to Hitler. Adrian, I seriously could keep talking to you for like hours. This is fascinating. I think I speak for everybody here to say thank you for being my first victim. And thank you for all that you do. I think it is amazing that you record these videos, that you give so much to the community, and I wish we had a lot more of that.
Here, here.
So thank you.
I think half of the presenters you filmed, dude, they realized they're on YouTube before they even gave their talk. I just watched my own fucking talk on YouTube. I haven't given it yet.
Hey, IronGeek, get yourself some goddamn cake.
I would have. Thank you.
And some cake.